Hello, this is Sakamoto 3-1 and this is my Chivalry Medieval Warfare Weapon Guide. This time we'll be covering the first blunt unlock for the Knight class, the Warhammer. Been a while, hasn't it? The Warhammer first showed itself in the late Middle Ages as a weapon that could be easily modified as well as equally deadly. No more than a simple hammer enlarged and put on a longer shaft, ranging anywhere in length between that of a mace and a halberd, this weapon was easily adaptable for the battlefield, with the inclusion of the spike on the opposite end, allowing for more lethal potential when in use against heavily armored opponents. This weapon held a niche, however. With its sole blunt and piercing attacks, this weapon was mainly used by men on horseback. The Warhammer was used to inflict damage on the opponent without having to go through armor, allowing for easier killing of people like knights. Although the piercing tip was used to pull down shields and horse reins, or simply to puncture a hole through someone's helmet, it was often less applicable because it was across the backhand. The Warhammer has 3 attack types, as usual with knight weapons: the swing, overhead, and stab. It also boasts the unique ability of being one-handed only, meaning a shield is very usable. The slash or swing attack deals blunt damage. Usually blunt damage yields small but consistent damage. However, with the Warhammer's high base damage, or the damage it would inflict with no modifiers, it is relatively high. This makes for a weapon that does consistent, moderate damage across the board. Against the archer, you will do base damage to the head, being 75. Against the body, 60 damage will be dealt, and the legs will take 48 damage with each successful hit. The man-at-arms will take 70 damage to the head, 56 damage to the body, and 45 to the legs. Not a huge drop-off from the archer. When put up against the vanguard, 66 damage is done to the head, 53 to the body, and 42 to the legs. This, again, is not a large damage reduction, and given that vanguard is now a heavy armored class, this is good. The knight does not hold a big of a resistance to the Warhammer as most other weapons. Against the knight, you shall deal 56 damage to the head, 45 to the torso and arms, and 36 to the legs. Again, a very small drop-off compared to what it normally is. All classes will require a minimum of 3 hits to kill. This is below average for the archer, average for the man-at-arms and vanguard, but is a rather low minimum against the knight, as some weapons require up to 5 or 6 hits to kill. The overhead attack does blunt damage as well, doing the same amount of consistent damage all across the board. Against the archer, you will do 80 damage to the head, 64 to the body, and 51 to the legs. This is not a large increase from the swing attack, but yet remains an increase nonetheless. The man-at-arms receives a minor reduction in damage. You will deal 75 damage to the head, 60 to the body, and 48 to the legs. The vanguard will take 70 damage to the head, 56 to the body, and 45 to the legs. This is not a large reduction from the man-at-arms damage is taken, which is significant given that it is again a heavily armored class. The knight again is relatively weak to the Warhammer. 60 damage is done to the head, 48 to the body, and 38 to the legs. This is a large amount of damage compared to the knight, who generally lurks within the 40 to 50 range as far as damage goes. The stab deals blunt pierce damage. In short, this damage is literally almost non-existent. Damage is not very significant at all, and making this attack generally useless unless the enemy is running away and very weak. Against the archer, you will deal 37 damage to the head, 30 to the body, 24 to the legs. Given the damage from the other 2 attack types, this is nowhere near any damage. Men-at-arms will take 34 damage to the head, 27 to the body, and 22 to the legs. This is a slight increase to already bad damage. The vanguard takes a fraction less damage than the man-at-arms. This would normally be good, but the stab lacks any significant damage to make it an effective tool. With only 33 damage done to the head, 26 to the body, and 21 to the legs, this is really minuscule damage. Against the knight, you will only do a pitiful 24 damage to the head, 19 to the body, and 15 to the legs. That being said, the stab attack is utterly useless, but then again, how effective would stabbing with a hammer be? The Warhammer has a low amount of reach, and the ineffectiveness of the stab attack limits this reach further. However, given the added defensive bonus of being able to use a shield will certainly help with your survivability. It is this tank-like ability that is the basis around our class. The primary slot will be the Warhammer. In the secondary slot, the mace will continue the heavy-hitting theme of our class, being the heavy hitter of the 2 options. For the special slot, the tower shield will provide the greatest defense possible at the slight cost of mobility. The secondary slot is not as useful in this build, as the Warhammer can use the shield and will render the secondary nearly useless, as the usual use of the secondary is so that it can be with a shield instead of your large 2-handed weapon. Otherwise, lead on and head right out into the assault, right into the thick of things, proving a man for your team to follow into the fray of battle. The Warhammer will certainly help you here as it is heavy-hitting and will certainly make short work of almost any opponent. With this tank of a weapon at your side, you shall command the battlefield and smash your enemies into little bitty pieces. Little bitty pieces.